Hello and welcome to Video Game Hangover. I'm Randy Dickinson and I'm in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Hey, I'm DJ Ross. I'm in Mountain View, California.
Each week on Video Game Hangover we talk about the games that have been keeping us up at night. This week we're talking about Final Fantasy VII Remake and Down in Bermuda.
Down in Bermuda.
Mm-hmm.
The sequel to Up in Bermuda.
No.
No, okay.
I don't believe that's accurate.
No, okay. Well, I thought that was a game. No?
No, maybe.
Everybody's always asking me, you played, Up in Bermuda yet? I really hope it gets a sequel someday.
I'm very sensitive to that, to the thing that everyone is talking about. I hear that like in marketing and commercials and blah, blah, blah. And like, it's the healthcare remedy everybody's talking about. And I'm like, no one's talking about it. I've never heard that.
Well, no, everybody's talking about Up in Bermuda.
Yeah. A lot of politicians tend to roll out that everybody's talking about how blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, nope, no one, not a single person. Yeah. Or, maybe somebody in your house, but yeah, certainly not everybody.
Don't know where you're hanging out. Don't know what kind of crowds you're associating with. Spoiler alert, nobody.
Yep, not a single one. People who tell you what you want to hear. But yeah, anyway, Down in Bermuda, it's a video game.
Yes, it's a real thing.
It is a real thing, yeah. Bermuda, it's probably warmer than it is in Pennsylvania right now because it's frigid.
Why aren't you in Bermuda? Or you're just playing this so you can live vicariously through video games? It
is indeed sort of a sunny, warm, kind of oceany kind of game. So that's nice. That would probably be like a good motivation for tackling some kind of like sunny, warm kind of game right now. What's a good tropical game, DJ?
I really want to play that Alba game, which I just learned is on Apple Arcade, so I may give it a shot there. But I don't know. Aren't you? You don't get that out of Animal Crossing. You aren't just hooked into that 24/7.
I don't play off cycle. That's the so I open my Animal Crossing game right now, and it's snowing and freezing, and everybody's got winter hats on, and yeah, and all my like neighbors and villagers want to talk about how cold it is and how good I look in my coat. But I mean, that's fine. I'll take compliments all day, but it doesn't it doesn't make me feel sort of like wistful for tropical climates. Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, as much as I like to use video games for escapism, I don't know if I often like seek out a specific environment to go hang out in. That's an interesting question.
Yeah. I've had like counter programming games for like moods, for like places I'm at in life. Yeah, so I tend to gravitate towards games. I think the one that I've used probably most as an example is Captain Toad Treasure Tracker.
Yeah.
Was sort of my official video game of retail holiday apocalypse 2000 whatever. And I just didn't have the brain power while trying to sort of navigate my retail job during Christmas to play something kind of hardcore and intense. So yeah, Captain Toad was this sort of delightful, low stakes, low pressure kind of escape for me through holiday that helped keep me sane and allowed me to think about something other than retail craziness. So yeah.
You know what I'm thinking of doing now is, I'm super into the video games as a tourism angle, whether it is like Assassin's Creed or Watch Dogs 2, just video games that recreate an environment or just like the sense of being in an environment. So what I want to do is have like a pinboard where it's like a world map and just shows where all these virtual vacation getaways are. For you to check out, so you'd be like, can't go to Italy right now, but I could play Assassin's Creed 2. Could be fun.
Yeah.
Can't go to Japan, but you could check out Ghosts of Tsushima or any other of those, any of the Persona games, perhaps.
Right. Yeah. Geez, I wonder if you could fill an entire map with sort of open world games. Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could connect them all too. So you'd be like, well, now leaving Liberty City, welcome to, I don't know. I guess New Jersey is still like a suburb of Liberty City or whatever.
Right. It wasn't that one game. I remember that there was that one point where you just went to Jersey for no reason.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, Liberty City, not a real place. So you kind of have to like extrapolate where the real inspiration for that came from, right? Because Vice City is supposed to be Miami, right?
Yeah. A lot of space in between Liberty City and Vice City. Got to fill in the blanks somehow.
Yeah. And for the, states like Pennsylvania that don't tend to get their own video games, you could, there's always those racing games that you can drive coast to coast. So
yeah, the ones that just give a very weird approximation of what they think that city's supposed to be like.
Right, you can drive through all of Pennsylvania in about 8 seconds of game time.
Probably developed by some studio over in Europe. Just like, oh, Pennsylvania, is that where all the vampires come from? That sounds about right. Man, actually, I just remembered this game this is not helpful to you because I think it's probably very difficult to play this game at this point. But there's this driving sim called Test Drive Unlimited that I played a lot of on Xbox 360. Mm-hmm. And it was it felt like a 1-to-1 recreation of the island of Oahu in Hawaii. Oh. Not 1-to-1 in terms of like the buildings smashed up and everything, but I think it was like 1-to-1 scale. So it was a driving game, and there were a couple races. They were like the last ones you would do in the game. So of course they would just go around the entire island. And it would take like an hour to do, driving at race car speeds. But, it's very pleasant and tropical. You could occasionally take your car off the freeway and drive down to the beach, just kind of cruise around. It's a lot of
fun. There's got to be, so the video game equivalent of sort of driving down the Pacific Coast Highway on a sunny day or something like that, and stopping at a food truck. I don't know if a video game has ever sort of truly captured the, just sort of driving for fun.
I think it was Test Drive Unlimited, maybe, because you could do races and everything, but between races, it was all about being in this open world, and it really felt to me like the developers were trying to create a game that was about just like the thrill of driving a car, not necessarily even racing a car, but just going cruising around an island or something like that. That was very unique.
Without sort of a giant checklist of objectives that you have to achieve.
Yeah, it felt very low pressure. It's not like you do a race and it kicks you into a menu so you can immediately go to the next race. It was sort of like cool. You roll past the finish line and then, should we do another race? Well, I don't know. What do you feel like doing? You could go like buy some beachfront property or change your clothes or something like that. Actually, I don't know if they had like an actual wardrobe in that because I don't remember you ever getting out of the car. So you might be out of luck if you want to go to the beach, actually. So you might have to have a couple options here for you.
Cool. Excellent. Well, there we go. That is an excellent way to, get the hell out of my house or get the hell out of Pennsylvania for a few hours, or at least, virtually be someplace warm and sunny.
Could go the walking sim route. There's somebody. I played that game that just had you walking up and down that mountain shrine in Kyoto a couple years ago.
Oh, right. Yeah.
And I think they did one that was, it was a similar landscape, but in Australia. I don't know if that is just the developer continues to make that type of thing, but I imagine just like go to Itch or Steam or something and just type in, walking simulators. Show me what you got.
Tourism, yeah.
Yeah. That would be great, though. What about the Assassin's Creed in Egypt? That's probably very warm.
Yeah, undoubtedly. Yep. And that has that sort of education mode where you can go around and learn interesting things about, pyramids and stuff, I assume.
Yeah. Find out they need that in like Sleeping Dogs or
Just Cause and things like that.
Yeah.
I guess Just Cause is not really sort of modeled after a real place. It's
Just Cause, that's another good one.
Yeah. Bright and sunny, occasional explosions.
Yeah. Nothing that's going to ruin your vacation.
Right, no, certainly not. You get a fast car and a bazooka. What more do you need on vacation?
Yeah. yeah, tricky to bring those on the plane usually. But
you got to leave them there. Yeah, you can't really take those home with you. What happens in Panau stays in Panau.
Well, nice pull on remembering which fictional island that actually took place on.
Yeah, he was quite the globetrotter. I don't remember the name of that guy. What was the character from Just Cause?
Oh, it was was it Rico Rodriguez?
There you go. Yep. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. And the second one, he was like in Greece or somewhere. The third one. The second one, in accordance with the, Just Cause 2 timeline. But what was the fourth one? He went back to a tropical island somewhere?
I think so, yeah.
Man, maybe I should play some Just Cause. I never played the third or fourth one.
One of them was Mediterranean. I remember that specifically. And
I distinctly remember nothing against the Mediterranean or anything. I would love to go there on vacation someday. But I was just like, oh man, I missed the tropical island already without even having played this game. I just want there to be palm trees all over the place.
Right. All right, excellent. Well, maybe I will sort of ruminate on that a little bit this week while I'm, shivering at the home. And forking out millions of dollars for my electric bill to keep this house warm.
Millions of dollars.
Millions. Yeah.
Oh man.
Anyway, how's things? How's life in California?
Good problem to have. Well, I'm not spending quite that much on my heating bill, but it's fine. It's fine. Still, Gavin Newsom outside my door won't let me go outside. Actually, I don't know what the news is this week. Not to get too much into it, but now they're saying maybe they'll just let people go outside again. And as exciting as that sound, I'm at the same time just well, it's probably not a good idea to let people do that.
Yeah, I think I heard a little something on the news about California had 0% availability in hospitals right now. And that's a horrifying place to be.
I think that was just for the LA area.
Oh, okay.
Although it could be up here. I think we're at 1 or 2% vacancy or whatever they call it. But yeah, it's not a good situation to be in.
All right, well, take care of yourself.
Thank you. I had planned to.
Good. Made it this far.
Yep. Just 2 or 3 more 3 more years to go. I don't know.
Yep. Yeah. Gotta have those realistic expectations.
Yeah. Just trying to, look, I'm going to bunker down for as long as it takes. But I feel like that entitles me to complain about it the entire time.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. We have tickets to a concert that is supposed to happen in 2020 that got delayed. We have tickets to a lot of concerts that were supposed to happen in 2020 that got delayed until 2021. And the first of which, sort of the makeup dates, is the first week of May. And I'm like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't think that. You're going to need a 2022 date. Better start warming that up because it doesn't seem like we'll be going to concerts in 3 months.
I don't know how closely you've been following that Super Mario World theme park in Japan that's supposed to open up.
I've been following it quite closely, actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. First of all,
my YouTube
it just
feed
looks super
all the
cool.
time. Yeah, they had a little tour of it. There was somebody who did a feature on all the food, sort of the Mario
I didn't see that one.
World themed foods that are going to be served at the Japanese theme park based on Super Mario World.
I'm gonna look that one up. That's
find it. It's good. Yeah.
But they announced that I think it was supposed to open. They're going to do the big grand opening in February or April. Late last year, they announced that, and I was just like, "Ooh, that's optimistic." And then since then, there's just been escalating, pandemic numbers in Japan. So I think they pushed it back at this point. But it's oh yeah, that was. I know Japan is doing better than other countries, but probably want to hold back on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Theme parks not an essential service.
Seems like a tough time to pack everybody into a theme park.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. Although I follow somebody on Instagram, and we are way off base at this point in the podcast, and we apologize to anybody who's antsy waiting for us to talk about video games. But
I was trying to
also
keep
made
it
it-
on like slightly in the
Sure.
same neighborhood.
I'm gonna meander further away, but
Okay,
I've I follow somebody on Instagram who went to the Sanrio World that opened I think late last year in Japan, and it was a park full of Sanrio fans, all masked, of course.
Yeah.
But it was just a lot of people in there, and I'm like, I don't know if my sort of appreciation for Bats Maru and Hello Kitty would allow me to tolerate that.
It opened late last year, as in late 2020.
Yes, I believe so.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Questionable.
Yeah. I thought it was amusing they had all the sort of the mascot characters, like the big, 7.5 feet tall Hello Kitties and stuff like that.
Yeah.
All had big fabric masks on their
Yeah,
plushy faces.
Gotta set an example. That's good.
Yeah, you gotta sort of model that excellent behavior. I thought that was pretty aspirational.
Yeah. Well, good for Hello Kitty.
Yeah. It's important she gets out of the house.
Yeah. I have no idea what her living situation is like. She's probably just got a palatial mansion somewhere. Imagine she's doing quite well.
Yes, yeah. That's one of those things that sort of never seems to sort of ebb in popularity, I think. Yep. She's been riding a high for a while now. But yeah. So down in Bermuda, in a circuitous way of arriving at this, is a video game that I started playing this week. It's a fun kind of puzzle adventure game. It has a little more in common with like Where's Waldo than I think I was anticipating.
Oh.
I got the trailer for it popped up somewhere. I think maybe on Twitter is usually where these things sort of jump into my radar. And it's by Yak and Company, which is a developer that made Agent A a couple of years ago. I think that's 2 years ago. It's kind of Agent A is a episodic adventure puzzle game where you're like a secret agent who solves puzzles.
An episodic puzzle game. Interesting.
Yeah. And it's sort of not dissimilar from a Professor Layton kind of experience where you're trying to sort of solve a mystery, and everything that you kind of encounter is an unusual puzzle for you to solve. And I like these oddball games that are really just kind of thinly veiled puzzle delivery systems.
Sure.
And down in Bermuda, the trailer for it kind of looked like that. It looked like you're a pilot and your plane crashes in the Bermuda Triangle somewhere, and you are solving puzzles to be able to kind of escape, to make your way out.
Oh, so you're already in the Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah, the game starts with you crashing there.
Okay. That's not what I was expecting. I figured, you were talking about island vacations, thought you might just be hanging out on the beach. I was hoping I might eventually get to the Bermuda Triangle, but they really just exceeded my expectations here.
Yep, yeah, you're there. Why waste any time? So you have a little adventurer who has spent some time on this cluster of islands and is now sort of antsy about making his way home. And you go kind of island to island to island. And each island has its own theme. One is sort of like a pirate shipwreck theme, and one of them is a weird science fiction underwater laboratory.
It's like that there's a single island in the Bermuda Triangle is the pirate shipwreck island. It seems like that'd be every island.
There'd be 40 of those, yeah. Like, oh no, another island with a shipwreck on it.
Just like, oh, wait till we get the next island, and they're just like, is it going to be shipwreck themed again? Like, oh, just wait, you'll see.
And one of them is a big like Dr. Evil style science fiction lair with a volcano shaped like a snake. And you tap your way through all of these little islands and try to solve puzzles. And to be able to do that, though, the first thing you have to do is sort of collect all the glowy bits that are hidden on the island. So you have to kind of like zoom and pan and sort of rotate the island around and, look in crevices and behind trees and tap on little treasure chests that slowly open, and there's a glowy bit inside, and you tap it, and so you have to collect all of the glowy bits to be able to sort of unlock the first puzzle, which is usually some environmental thing that you have to solve. You have to sort of direct the flow of lava through a series of weird channels that is a puzzle to solve. And when the lava hits the thing at the end, there is another puzzle that it's provoked. So it's a weird, like, kind of mousetrap sort of Rube Goldberg machine that of interconnected parts that allow you to collect all these pieces to be able to move on to the next island and sort of lather, rinse, repeat, start the whole thing over again.
So you're not really doing this on foot, are you? Are you just rotating like a diorama, basically?
Yeah, yes, you're not. The little adventurer, the little pilot, is on the map, and he sort of jumps through the portal and lands kind of in the starting position. And from there, you kind of take over as kind of an omniscient god, essentially, who can, pan and pinch to zoom and stuff like that on the screen to be able to kind of rotate your way around. He doesn't follow you around. You don't inhabit him and lead him around the islands or anything like that. You really, like you said, it is a diorama, essentially, that you're kind of spinning around and exploring kind of visually.
That's cool. I guess that's not quite what I expected, but it does sound... I could see how that would feel like a Where's Waldo style thing. Yeah,
there are, X number of little blinky, shiny bits on this game, and you have to collect them all to be able to, trigger the first puzzle to solve on the island.
So you actually have to find all of them?
You do, unfortunately, yeah. Each portal to the next island, the next themed island, has like 2 or 3 objectives that you have to solve. They're represented by little gems over the portal to the next thing. And the first gem is always collect all the glowy bits.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah. The cool thing is, though, and the developers kind of throw you a bone, is in the course of exploring, sometimes you will find a little treasure map kind of rolled up and tucked into something, and you can tap on that, and it brings you kind of a real-time map of where all the remaining glowy bits are.
Oh, okay. Well, then you got kind of an out, it sounds like.
Yeah, so if you're tired of looking for them, or if you find that part tedious, which eventually you will, the map is a nice way of sort of speeding through what's left of that objective to be able to get on to the fun stuff, which is solving the big environmental puzzles. I started playing this on my Switch on the TV, and while, it was big and beautiful and looked awesome on my giant 52-inch behemoth in my living room, the controls of being able to sort of spin the map using the sticks and to be able to kind of zoom using the triggers, and then to be able to sort of like tap on the glowy bit you want to sort of claim was a pointer that you had to control with another stick. And I'm like, this is stupid. This should be a should be a touchscreen game.
The whole time you've been describing it, I'm just imagining playing this with a touchscreen.
Yeah, so I had to get off my couch and go grab the Switch and play it on the touchscreen, where it was much better and responds to sort of double input. So you can, like I said, pinch to zoom and use 2-finger to scan and move the map around and rotate and stuff. And clearly this is a thing that was made for a touchscreen. It looks great on a TV, but the controls do not work at all for that kind of input. So Googling this and doing a little research, it turns out it was initially developed to run on iOS devices. It actually started its life as an Apple Arcade exclusive. So, so it totally makes sense that this is not a thing that really sort of lends itself well to being controlled with sticks and a little virtual pointer.
It's nice that they'll throw Switch owners a bone, though.
Yeah. So you have options. If you want to play it on your big TV and deal with the stupid controls, then that exists. But I would encourage you either play it on your phone or.
I want to play tablet. Where's Waldo, but I want it to be stupid.
I want it to be just impossible to control and do what I want to do. Yeah. So, yeah, it's brief. I got through the entire thing, maybe about 3.5 hours. It's 5 islands, 6 islands that you kind of hop between. Sometimes you'll find like a key on one island that unlocks a door 4 islands prior, so you have to sort of hop around. But everything happens very quickly in the game if you want it to. And yeah, so it's nice to sort of like solve this little mystery of what's going on in these crazy Bermuda islands, and to help this pilot, hopefully get home at the end, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, I don't know. It was a fun little distraction, a little sort of diversion, a little toy to play with,
Cool.
while doing other things.
You're really on this kind of puzzler kick lately.
Yeah, it seems like I've sort of fallen into a trend of playing these little environmental puzzle games. I was playing this inspired me to want to go back and play Captain Toad again because it feels very similar. In the way that Captain Toad works, similarly, is you have these little cube dioramas that you kind of pan and scan through and move Toad around and collect gems and solve little puzzles and stuff like that. And,
yeah, I really liked there are those hidden gems in each level, and I enjoyed that aspect of it because I think they were optional, but it usually came down to just rotating the island in a weird way or noticing the one object in the environment that looks kind of suspicious, like there might be a gem hiding behind it, and you just had to first of all get it so you can see it in the right perspective, and then like figure out how to get Toad physically over there.
Yeah. The thing is, they really did well with the level design in Captain Toad, because it felt like these cool little, like a puzzle box almost, that you could pick up and kind of like peer into and kind of rotate, and some of them had little sliding parts, so you could kind of like move half the island up or down, and that would sort of reveal things that were hidden behind the joint between the two halves of the island. So they were these little very intricately detailed kind of puzzle boxes to solve.
Yeah.
And that was one of those ones too that just, unless you were using touchscreen controls, because the game was originally developed to be played on the 3DS, if I remember correctly.
I think it was a Wii U game. I think that's where I played it.
I'm not sure. Well, Super Mario 3D World is the first appearance of Captain Toad.
Right. And I'm pretty sure I played that on Wii U.
Did you? All right.
Because you had to blow on it, right? Or was that 3D World?
I've never played 3D World,
I think so.
I
that's
know.
Right. Yeah, one of those games, it was ridiculous. I remember having to blow on the gamepad a lot. I was just like, this is silly. I think the original Captain Toad post 3D World was a 3D a Wii U thing.
A Wii U game. Okay.
Well,
it
it's
did
just
eventually
come
make
back.
its way.
Yeah. To every platform under the sun, or every Nintendo platform anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, and yes, the Captain Toad ones were really great because, like you said, there were, you had kind of 3 gems to be able to move on to the next thing, but there was inevitably something hidden in the world too that was the extra thing for you to find. So yeah, the Down in Bermuda is not quite so kind of intricately detailed. It feels like it's a little bit more of a checklist that you have to go through. I need to find all the glowy bits. I have to find out where the lava goes and solve that puzzle. And then, so there was a very sort of clear path, I think, from beginning to end, of making my way through Down in Bermuda that, Captain Toad had a bit more of a, I don't know what it was, more of a focused kind of puzzly kind of experience.
Yeah. It sounds like Down in Bermuda, there's a few different things happening, or a few different like phases that you step through.
Yeah, definitely.
But Captain Toad was just like, find the gems, find the coins, or whatever. Get to the pipe.
The Mario Collectathon, yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever play that Hidden Folks game?
I did. I remember you talking about it, but no, I've never played that.
Yeah. It was, I think it was part of that huge bundle last summer. So that's when I finally got around to it. But, man, if you're into the Where's Waldo kind of stuff, and I didn't think that I was like, it's been a long time since I did a Where's Waldo book. But I just remember thinking like, oh, this could be interesting. It's very different than what I'm usually playing. It's kind of a, just a peaceful, low stress thing to sit down with for a few hours.
Yeah. I think it's nice to I mean, for me, sometimes it's about these sort of counter programming with video games where, I've sort of eternally got kind of the kind of relaxation, relatively low stress Animal Crossing experience happening. I just more or less finished like 70 hours with Immortals Phoenix Rising. Oh. And that was, big sprawling action adventure, lots of puzzle solving, but also lots of sort of like, beating up Cyclops with swords and hammers and things like that. So yeah, I have sort of like continued to drill into the puzzly aspect of that into, these other games. So yeah, I don't know. I think I have a fairly limited bandwidth of the types of games I've sort of evolved to have patience for these days. And yeah, this is probably more my speed right now.
Nice. It's good to have a little break from the enormous big budget AAA stuff. In between,
yeah,
anyway.
When I finished Immortals, I knew I wanted to go back to Yakuza. Like a Dragon, and I haven't brought myself to that yet because I'm like, I need a palate cleanser. I need a bit of I need something to sort of shake the Etch-a-Sketch a little bit before I fire up the PS4 and get into another big kind of open world, turn-based action game. So yeah, Yakuza is there waiting. I will get to it shortly, but in the meantime,
I'm waiting.
A little down in Bermuda. Yeah, I know. Down in Bermuda was a fun distraction.
Oh, cool. I think I might check this out. I like the fact that people are making sort of these hidden object games. Although one thing I did like about Hidden Folks is that it would give you these very vague clues to guide you towards items, and the fact that it sounds like they just drop you on the island and they're like, find all these things. Where are they?
Yeah.
No one knows. It sounds a little stressful.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those things where you learn the language of it a little bit. So the first island, and what was the game I talked about last week that played similarly?
Dark. No.
Dark, yeah.
Really?
The first one, you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. What can I do? What can I interact with? What do these symbols mean? And so the first level is you, in a lot of ways, sort of trying to figure that stuff out. And it takes a little bit longer, and you maybe don't collect everything you're supposed to collect or whatever. But by the time you get to the third level, you're like, I know what that switch means, or I know if the lights are blinking in the room, what I can do, et cetera, et cetera. So there's things you learn from the language of the game over time that clues you into kind of how to play it more efficiently. Mm-hmm. And I think Down in Bermuda plays similarly. The first island, again with sort of minimal direction, similar to Dark, is a lot of you kind of tapping on things to try to see is that a switch or is it just a tree? And you trying to figure out kind of what level of interaction is expected of you from the game and what objectives do I have to solve to be able to move on to the next thing. Mm-hmm. But by the time you get sort of further into the experience, you're a pro at those things.
Nice.
Yeah, I dig it. I think there's definitely sort of a lesson in, smart, progressive game design happening there.
Well, I'm curious, and I forgot if I mentioned earlier, I just got myself back into Apple Arcade, as it turns out, so I'll check it out sooner rather than later.
Would recommend.
Cool.
Oh, someday
you should really go back and play Up in Bermuda, though. That's the one.
All right, I'll put that on my list.
Okay, good. No, what is the good vacation game?
A good vacation game is The Tourist.
Oh yeah, that's also on my list.
Yeah, that is exactly a vacation game. That is a person who goes on vacation and gets wrapped up in a weird, crazy island conspiracy, possibly involving mysterious aliens and things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that has a lot of fun puzzles and adventurous things for you to do and solve as well.
Yeah, my brother actually recommended I play that because I guess he was playing it. I was like, oh, that sounds cool. This was earlier last year, and I was just like, hold on, I gotta play 70 more hours of Dragon Quest Builders 2, and then I will get right to it.
Put it on the list.
Yeah, but no, I've forgotten about that at this point, so I should check that out.
Anyway, what are you playing? I know what you've been playing.
Anyway,
Final Fantasy VII.
So I played Final Fantasy VII, the remake. Mm-hmm. I didn't play all of it. I just started it last week. I hear it's I heard varying things on how long it is. Some of them from being a just sort of mildly eye-rolling 40 hours to just the exasperated sigh 70 to 80 hours long.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Sounded a little more than exasperated.
And it's not even the whole game.
It's not even the whole game, and it's hilarious to me that I still run into people who are just like, I didn't know it was not the entire game.
Because it feels like a whole game. It feels like 6 whole games.
Yeah. I mean, it's a long game, even on the short side of the estimates.
Yeah, I mean, 40 is pretty substantial.
Yeah. And if you remember, God, when did this come out? It has actually been close to a year at this point. I think it came out in March last year, March or April. I went back and I just played the corresponding section of the original Final Fantasy VII, and it took like 5 or 6 hours. It was very, very short and sweet. It was very nice.
I remember you and I playing the demo for the remake at some point last year, and I think the demo was probably 45 minutes long, and you sort of commenting that it, in the main game, in the real game, the original game, that was 45 seconds of gameplay or something like that. It was not.
No,
it was not
like
a
10
real
or 15 minutes.
kind of one-to-one experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just. So I played past that the section of the game. I did the demo again, essentially, because that's the beginning of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And then I've just been it tracks pretty closely to just events that happen in the original. They insert some new stuff occasionally, but it really does feel like if the demo was about an hour, it took 10 or 15 minutes of the original. The whole thing is supposed to be 40 hours. It does feel like everything is just 5 times longer than it used to be. So that also maps to just going through original sections of the game and seeing them in the remake version. It's like, oh man, this is going to take about 5 times longer than it used to. So that's sort of where I'm setting my expectations.
Excellent.
But with that in mind, I'm actually really enjoying it. The amount that I played so far, asterisk, which I will come back to. But it's been really good. The as soon as I got past the section that I already played from the demo, it opens up. And if you remember in the demo, you were blowing up that reactor because you're a member of this eco-terrorist group.
I remember that. Yes.
Okay, so you get dumped out into the city. And yeah, there's a lot happening right from the get-go. First of all, it's a very weird experience because just because of all the parallels of playing the original back in the day, because it was sort of the same thing. Like they released a bunch of demos for the original, and I was super excited for the full thing to come out. So I must have played those demos, like not hundreds, but just a lot of times, like more than you would expect somebody to play a demo. And it would just end with the reactor exploding. So there was that feeling once I got the entire game, and I went back in once again, played through the demo section, blew up the reactor, and then suddenly you're just dumped out into the city, and the rest of the game starts. Kind of had this feeling of like, oh, this is all new from this point. What is going to happen now? I don't know. And I got kind of the same feeling from this because, the demo, again, very familiar. Didn't play it quite as many times as I played that original PS1 demo, but I had the same sense of like, oh man, we're past that part. We're past the part that everybody knows about. What is going to happen from now on? Because I know that, for the most part, it is just a kind of a retelling of the original Final Fantasy VII story, but I also know that they have made updates and some, creative changes along the way. And I'm wondering what that entails. But man, just walking around, the experience of walking around the streets in the remake was just unbelievable for several reasons. One just being, it's just an incredible looking version of this old PS1 game that I've played a ton of. That you're now able to just walk around at street level and rotate the camera around to this amazingly rendered and detailed city that, like I was saying previously, would probably take you about 5 minutes to run through because it's just like 4 or 5 top-down PlayStation 1 screens lined up back to back.
Right.
But now you can just walk from one end to the other, at least in this one area after the reactor explodes. And it's amazing because you can just look in like the shop windows. You can see people milling around on the streets. So I found myself kind of trying to take in all the sights, just look at what sort of signs and advertisements they have up in the windows, and just check out what kind of buildings they've got, like what section of the city this is in.
Sort of appreciating kind of the level of detail that clearly would not have been present in the PS1 version.
Yeah. I mean, and who knows how detailed those maps really were, because all we could see were the kind of low res PS1 renders.
Right.
But it was also amazing just kind of dramatically, because when you see the reactor explode in the original, it's like a quick full motion video clip of this thing blowing up. And then you are, like I said, in just a kind of a top down, like bird's eye view of the city, with a couple just really chunky PS1 3D characters walking around it. And occasionally they'll spout off like a text box or something. But in this, you're just, you're exploring around, and the neighborhood is just destroyed. And you actually see, like before this happens, you see the reactor explode, and you see it from like ground level essentially, because it shows you a bunch of people in the streets, and it's terrifying. Because you can imagine just being in a city and then living next to a power plant, and there's like a nuclear explosion that goes off, and then you're just left to wander the streets, and like houses and vehicles are destroyed, and all these people are trying to get to the evacuation areas. Is really just a completely different atmosphere than the PS1 game. So I was thinking, well, this is like, okay, I see the value of doing this, because the longer this was in development, I would just think, like, how much do we really need this game to be remade? Like, what are they actually going to, what benefit is there in remaking it to this level of fidelity? And so it's situations like this where I just think, oh wow, it's actually a very different experience than playing the original game, that I think in kind of an improved way.
Well, cool. That's an interesting, I don't know, sort of appreciation to sort of land at, because I don't know. I think there's an instinct that I have maybe as a consumer of video games that those older, kind of leaner, more efficient kind of versions of conveying things like this are maybe better than sort of these big bloated, HDR graphics, 60 frames per second. Like, that's nice. That's awesome. I will happily take that in my Uncharted's and, Spider-Man games. But, give me a 16-bit top-down RPG, and that's great too. That's, probably better for me, I think. So yeah, I don't know. I don't have a lot of sort of comparable experiences. The only thing that I can kind of think of that sort of exists in my play history at this kind of scale is the way that Dragon Quest XI sort of came to us as this game that you could sort of swap between kind of a 2D chunky 16-bit graph. I mean, beautiful, but or the 3D fully rendered walking around in the world representation, and how big of a difference there is between kind of those two gaming experiences, almost so much that it's very kind of jarring to try to bounce back and forth.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like two separate games almost.
Oh, totally.
And, like one is the remake of the other one.
Yeah, I mean, and the irony is that it was originally released as two separate video games, but
yeah.
But yeah, somebody sort of had the difficult job of trying to cram them together into a single experience.
I really wonder, I wonder if anybody, or if there was some kind of documentary about how they developed a game like that. Because there must have been, was either version sort of the lead version? I assume it was just the 3D one, because that sounds much more complicated to create. But it would have been I'd be very curious to see how it actually boiled down.
Oh, and were they sort of developed simultaneously, or did they make the giant 3D one and then hand it off and go, okay, now turn this into a 2D 16-bit game?
Yeah.
Yeah, and would that be more or less difficult if you had to do it in the opposite direction?
Mostly what I'm curious about is, how many times the 3D version team would have to compromise because there would just be something they wanted to do that was not easily to do in the 2D one. if there are any situations like that, because I imagine it would be a lot of things happening the other direction where they're just like, well, you got this cool castle, you're just not gonna be able to see the amazing like vistas and sunsets or whatever behind it, because it's all gonna be this top down Dragon Quest like his Famicom perspective.
Right. Yeah, I remember one of the things that I remember experiencing kind of at least in the early hours of Dragon Quest XI, and this is your segment on Final Fantasy VII, not necessarily on my meandering thoughts on Dragon Quest XI, but one of the first things you have to do is sort of climb to the top of a mountain. And in the 3D rendered version of it, like, it's a big production. Like, it's a whole thing for you to explore. And, each kind of plateau on your way to the top has enemies to fight and stuff like that. And, in the 2D version, it's like clump, 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 and you're at the top.
Yeah.
It's
like 16 tiles over to the left.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, we did it.
Yep. And it's just, the scale, obviously, is significantly different.
Yeah, I think that's actually. So I think I decided I would like to continue Dragon Quest XI, playing it in 2D, and then years later I'll go back and play the 3D one and just be like, oh my god, this is amazing. Who knew this game?
It's a whole different game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, I feel like
Fantasy VII.
like, so they're doing a good job with that sort of thing in Final Fantasy VII for the most part. It looks really good. It's super fun, especially whenever I encounter an environment that I was more familiar with in the original. Like, I've been spending a lot of time in the slums because that's sort of where your home base is. I just got to the church, so I'm looking forward to checking out the area around there. But I think some of the issues that I'm running into with this is that they've taken the stuff that I like, the environments and everything are terrific. I just feel like the storytelling has not really matured as well as the visuals and the environments and the battle system, for instance. Because while it is the same general story, I don't remember the game well enough to know if they're doing it line by line from the original. I imagine that's not what's happening. But it feels like you've got all these brand new cutscenes to just get to the same story beats. And the way that the cutscenes are both written and directed, it kind of feels like they were not written with sort of the final product in mind. That it kind of feels like I'll be listening to the characters talk, and it sounds ridiculous. And it kind of sounds like this dialogue was written to be in a little blue text box in a 32-bit PlayStation 1 RPG, and not fully acted out, fully voice acted by these incredibly realistic 3D characters who are just gesticulating all around this very expensive looking cutscene, because it's silly. And it kind of draws me out of it. It's a little grating at times.
There is a difference, right? I mean, between what you can sort of convey in a text box and what your imagination brings to that experience, and like you said, sort of the professionally voice acted and scripted kind of experience.
Yeah. I've been just rolling this over in my head constantly, because it's the only way I can make it through some of these cutscenes at some point. And I'm just thinking, it's almost like doing a radio show, right? Where if you're just handed a script and just told to read stuff, and it's going to be on the radio, there's going to be no visuals or anything, you kind of have to punch it up a little bit, because it's gonna, if you just filmed people sitting in a room having a conversation and played back the audio, it's probably going to sound a little flat, probably going to sound a little ordinary,
right?
So I feel like that's what they're trying to do, but in this case it just feels like it's not really working that well. And this is coming off Yakuza 7, which I thought the voice acting in that was extremely good, even though I played it in Japanese. I don't really probably it's a little difficult to fully grasp the quality of it. But in general, I thought the level of emotion and sort of the inflection on all the lines was believable, and matched up well with the visuals, which, I mean, in that game you do spend a lot of time just standing in a circle and chatting with your party members.
Right.
But in this one, they'll do the same thing. And first of all, the lines are just kind of silly. and a lot of them don't really sound like natural speech. And then half the time when they're delivering them, it'll be, I mean, it's mostly Barrett, who's like the big dude with the machine gun on his arm. He'll just be like kind of pacing around the room and swinging his arms around and just getting way too emotional for whatever dialogue he's actually delivering. So maybe it's just an issue with him. I don't know. But like a lot of the cast actually feels like they're just a little too punched up for like the lines they're giving. Not really sure why that is.
I remember this from the demo, having this, and I think maybe you and I talked about it. I don't know if we talked about it on the show or offline, but like there definitely seemed to be sort of a disconnect between kind of what was happening on the screen or like the emotional tone of the scene and the delivery of the lines that were happening in that scene. Yeah.
And it's so weird because whenever there's a particularly grating line, I'll just run it back in my head and think, would this have worked better if I was just reading it somewhere? And most of the time the answer is like, yeah, I could totally see them just, delivering this ridiculous line. But because I'm taking it in as a dialogue box instead of somebody just voicing it out, it's like, I think that would actually work better if it wasn't fully voiced.
Yeah. So do you think this is a case of them just taking a script from 20-something years ago and not sort of updating it appropriately for kind of modern sensibilities and the way that the technology has kind of evolved in communicating these things?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's the same script line for line, but I feel like it was written like it was going to be like carried out in dialogue boxes rather than acted out by humans or virtual humans, which is, I don't know, maybe just something they didn't consider. Maybe it's just a case of like actually just poor cutscene direction or voice direction. But it's really unfortunate because like everything else about the game has been remastered, I suppose, so well. Like the environments, the graphics are incredible. It's like one of the best looking video games that I've played. All the flashy battle effects are unbelievable. It's very exciting. But then the cutscenes are, man, it's just such a downer when I get through an exciting battle or just revisit a favorite area from the game, and then I just have to listen to them drop these clunkers of dialogue. This is rough.
I wonder if like the scale of this thing changed at some point during development.
Oh, it must have.
That the script may have been perfectly fine for their original kind of aspiration for what this game was going to look like. And then, I don't know, like, oh no, wait, let's voice act everything. And that just would have required a rewrite of the script that nobody did.
Well, I feel like it must have been fully voiced from the get-go. That's like saying, like, halfway through the remake of Final Fantasy VII, they decided it should be fully 3D. I feel like that was just always a given.
Yeah, you think so? I mean, I don't know. I'm spitballing.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I imagine there was a lot of reworking throughout the development process because it's been in development for forever. I don't know when they actually started like the real work in earnest, but it's been quite a while since it was announced. So I don't know. Or I also think maybe it's just like maybe this makes sense to if you watch like a lot of like Japanese anime or TV or dramas or something because it's just a different style of presentation that I'm not used to.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It could be if you're a big anime fan, you're really loving the way they act in this, but it's just not totally working for me.
I can see that too. Absolutely. That's my one of my big takeaways from my limited exposure to anime is that tonally it always feels like I'm either a half a step ahead or behind.
Yeah. I mean, which is fine if the entire game, if it was aware that it was doing that, if it was going to be just this punched up thing. But just the way that everything else, like all the other aesthetics about it, are so serious, and it's like a lot of times just humorless, until a couple characters come in and they just do like a silly pose or something for no reason, and you're just like, okay, that's I mean, it doesn't really make sense that they would do that in the scene, but sure. I don't know. It's so I think cutscenes and everything are questionable. I hope that maybe, I mean, I was going to say I'm only a few hours in, but I've played it for like 10 hours at this point. I've played quite a bit of it. I'm not sure if the overall cutscene direction will change eventually. I don't know how, like, if it'll turn into a bigger issue for me, but I really hope that it doesn't detract from how much I'm enjoying the rest of it, because it's been super fun to come back and just explore this new version of this classic game.
It's interesting. I think that's I mean, sort of position this more or less back to back with Yakuza 7. And to sort of, my take on that game was that it has a pretty serious pacing problem, at least in the first 15, 20 hours, where, man, it just feels like this slog through these cutscenes. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, there's got to be a more efficient way to tell this story, to like give background on these characters and to drop you in this scenario than this. Because how many gamers are lost in that experience? How many people are just not going to force themselves to sit through it?
Yeah. I did feel like, I mean, I don't know if I'm just desensitized to the lengthy cutscenes because I played a lot more Yakuza games.
It's true, yeah.
But I felt like, I mean, I thought it was okay. I do think they probably could have taken like 20 to 25% out of the script and been okay. It does feel like they are sometimes talking in circles. But like most of the time, I was just into the performances and the characters enough that I didn't mind having a couple extra lines of dialogue where it wasn't necessary. But in this, it's just, I don't know what's going on. It's just it's not great right out of the gate. And it's kind of an issue when, they go back and try and make these additions to the script, which I feel like, I don't know. I don't know what Final Fantasy fans want, I guess. But it at times it does feel like they're giving it a bit of the like George Lucas Star Wars Special Edition treatment. So for instance, so you've got like you got this in the demo. You have like your terrorist cell buddies along with you. They don't actually fight, but they're just sort of background characters. They help you out. And that's how it was in the original game, where you're members of this terrorist group, and you had speaking of George Lucas, they're actually just named Biggs and Wedge, which is a Star Wars reference.
Oh, really?
But you have this squad of terrorists, and they're just background characters. They're like Luke Skywalker's wingmen, who are just like, oh, okay, that guy, sure, he's there to also fly an X-wing. I don't need 20 minutes of background story about what his life was like before Star Wars. But they kind of do that in this game. They're just like, all right, we just finished the mission, on to the next mission. Oh, no, first we're going to take a little detour, learn about this character for 20 to 30 minutes, which I agree on like some level that's interesting because we didn't know a lot about this character before. But it feels like, just jumping immediately into the super extended director's cut of something where they're just like, oh yeah, if you're already a super fan of this story, here's one which just leaves nothing left to the imagination because we're just going to get into every single character's backstory for probably longer than we need to.
Ugh.
And so if you're, a Final Fantasy VII fan who always wondered what your squad was up to between missions, maybe that's very cool, but I don't know how well it might work for somebody who's brand new to the game. I don't know. Maybe they're into it.
Yikes. Man, I'm physically uncomfortable. I can't imagine.
Too much Final Fantasy.
Yeah. Squirming in my chair here. I got a weird look on my face. I don't. And you're having fun with this.
Well, I'm having fun with the rest of it. It's just when they take all these detours, I'm just like, I don't know about this. And, some of it's interesting because it's just more like, I actually liked about half of that mission because you get to go to this new area of the city that you've never seen before. So I was just like, oh man, what's this going to be like? but then it just felt like, it took, an extra hour. It was just an extra detour And at the end of it, I just thought, well, what did we actually do? I guess we learned a little bit about this character, which is fine. But like I said, the just the way they deliver the story is not super pleasant. I would love it if they would just have this like a tourist mode where, I don't know, after every mission, you're just left to your own devices to go wander around the city a little bit and just take in the sights. But that's just my weird way of playing video games. At this point, I'm just like not necessarily interested in the actual game. I just want to go around and be on vacation somewhere.
I want to admire your scenery, yeah. I think we're itching for travel at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the city is so cool, though. That's it. That's it. I don't know. That's it.
You didn't really convey that in the demo at all. You weren't sort of left to explore. You were really, it was pretty well channeled, I thought.
No, I mean, the demo's so focused.
Yeah.
Which, can be a good thing. People, when people talk about the original, the Midgar section of the game, it's like the section, the first 5 hours or so you spend in the city. A lot of people say that's like their favorite part of the game. They feel like that's the strongest part because it is so like linear and focused compared to the rest of the game where you get dropped out on the overworld map. And it's a very different game. Not in a bad way. Like, it's still a good game, but it's just the first section of it is so interesting because you're just kind of shuttled along from one key plot point to the next. And this one just feels a little more meandering.
That feels like a universal kind of RPG structure, though. I mean, to think of it in terms of, comparing it to kind of Persona games. There is a point in Persona where it has held your hand for the first 15 to 20 hours, teaching you tons and tons of intricate sort of day-to-day navigation and how to get through combat encounters and all of your options, and then it sort of takes its hand off the wheel a little bit and lets you drive, and you're just drowning in options.
That means about 15 to 20 hours, though? Is that...
well...
that's probably an exaggeration, but not too much of one, right?
No, from a Persona standpoint, no, it's definitely not too much of an exaggeration.
I certainly expect sort of like the more prescribed intro sequence, even in RPGs going back to like the Super Nintendo, because you'd have, you just got to get the story going, got to set everything up before they dump you out on the world map. But
Dragon Quest XI has that. You 17, 18 hours into that game before you get a boat and can go anywhere you want to go. But up to that, it pretty much tells you exactly what your next move is going to be.
Yeah, I guess it's a little different for every game, but I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah, just looking for connections.
Yeah. So anyway, just trying to not get super annoyed with kind of the auxiliary characters and the line readings in this game, and just waiting until I can get to the next the new city block to check out, because certain parts of this game totally amazing and mind blowing. And I didn't even talk about the battle system and all that, but I imagine I'll be playing this for a while. We'll probably get into it.
Yeah,
later.
you have a lot more game to dig into. Yeah.
Yeah. First impressions, it's very good and interesting, and it's taking me a little bit to wrap my head around everything that's going on in it, so that's probably a better idea to hold off on it a little bit.
Cool. Are you the type of gamer that would, and I think I know the answer to this, that would just like skip through that kind of stuff, or do you patiently sit through it waiting for it to get better and end?
Oh, like the cutscenes?
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't just outright skip the rest of the scene, I don't think. Because, as irritating as some of it can be, I do want to, take in the rest of the story and see how it's different from the original. And I can't imagine, well, man, I hope it doesn't get to the point where I'm just like, nope, that's it. That's enough of this. I might have done that with some games, but I feel like that is a rarity. Why I would just be like, no, don't care about this anymore. Just get me to the end.
That's what I figured you would say.
Yeah. Especially for an RPG or something, a lot of the reason I'm there is probably the story. So if I'm just skipping it after a while, then what's the point?
Why am I still here? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Although now that you bring this up, I feel like I did this recently with some game. It was just like, nope, that's enough for me. I'm checking out.
But I think Builders, I remember you saying Builders 2 was pretty overwritten.
Builders was very verbose, but I stuck with it. I think largely because you just could not skip all the dialogue in that game.
Ugh.
But, yeah, I don't know. What game am I thinking of where I just stopped reading it after a while? I don't remember. Monster Hunter, maybe? Monster Hunter World? I'm just like the story in that game is not very good to begin with. And in that case, I am definitely not there to figure out, where are the monsters coming from? So that might have actually been it. I might have skipped a lot of
attack the village? I didn't know that.
Yeah, that one, that is, I mean, that's a whole other situation where just, like, other disasters are taking place. But I think I've skipped my share of Monster Hunter cutscenes.
Before I bailed on Death Stranding, that was the last game that I did.
Oh, no, did I? I don't think I skipped cutscenes on that. Just because
there's just so many, just endless cutscenes.
I mean, I stopped reading the emails in that for sure. But like that, I mean, that was a whole different situation though. Because by the end of it, I was just like, okay, I'll just put this on in the background basically, and just watch a movie, and it's going to be absurd.
And clean my house and make a sandwich.
Yeah. Oh. No, but so it hasn't gotten to that point for sure. No, like okay. I will still just sit through these cutscenes, which are mercifully, I mean, they're nowhere near approaching the length of Death Stranding. We'll see where it ends up 30 or 40 hours from now.
Cool. That's a big. I'm not sure if you're quoting accurate hours, but you said it. At the low end it's like 40 hours. At the high end it's like 70. That's a big swing.
It's like 30, 40 hours. I mean, there are a lot of cutscenes in this. Also, not cutscenes. There are a lot of side quests. Okay. I guess it might also depend heavily on how many side quests you do.
Sure.
Side quests have not been incredibly interesting so far. They're just like, man, the very first side quest is literally go and kill 3 rats. I'm just like, what game am I playing? Like, you couldn't, like, I kind of get that you could throw this in and be like, ho, here's the NPC with the exclamation point over his head. Is he going to make you go kill 3 rats or squirrels? Who knows? But then they just did it, and it didn't seem tongue-in-cheek at all. So I don't know. I don't know if the developers are like completely aware of what kind of game they're making.
Excellent.
Well, yeah.
We'll continue to enjoy this along with you.
Okay, good.
All right, cool. Well, we should wrap this thing up, I guess. If you need any more video game hangover in your brain, please follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/VGHangover. Don't forget, you can always get show notes and links and tell us what you thought about this very episode at VGHangover.com. We should encourage you to join our Discord. As we are sitting here recording this episode, someone new has joined our Discord, and I am squirming in my chair because I have not been able to appropriately welcome them to the clubhouse.
Who could it be? They had no idea they were getting a shout out on this week's show.
A shout out on the show. Isolotologist. Welcome to the Discord, Isolotologist.
Wow, welcome. Setting the bar pretty high for new Discord members, but who knows? Maybe that's just what we do now.
We should just welcome people on the podcast to the Discord.
All right, yeah. People are going to be strategizing. Like, we have to find out when they're recording the next show and then join right in the middle of that.
If you want to join the Discord, do it around 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. on Monday nights Eastern time.
All right. Just putting it all out there.
All right. Please subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and anywhere else you can get a podcast. And tell your friends about us.
Yeah. Tell them that you won't believe what this podcast said about Final Fantasy VII Remake this week. You should go listen to it. And then join their Discord.
You won't believe what they said about anime. Let's I don't know.
What did I say about anime?
You said very disparaging things about anime, DJ.
Was I? Or did I? I thought I was saying, like, some things are appropriate for this and some things are not appropriate.
I don't know. Anime fans, very thin-skinned.
Yeah. Ugh. All right. Well, don't at me or whatever.
That has worked for us so far.
Right. Well, anyway, we want to give thanks again to Felly Kitty for our intro and outro music this week. Please head on over to fellykitty.bandcamp.com. Listen to more of our stuff. Maybe pick up an album or two. That would be cool.
Yeah, it's good stuff. All right, we'll be back next week. Until then, this is Randy Dickinson.
This is DJ Ross.
Thanks for listening to Video Game Hangover. Goodbye.
Good night.
See you.